Hi, this is Shirish Kulkarni, founder and CEO of STROTA Consultech, having running this company for last 5 years and focusing on small and medium businesses. In this initiative called as HATKE, we are talking to various personalities, various individuals, various leaders of industries, organizations who have mattered in a different way, made carved their own path, created their own impact, and achieved a lot, not only in India but also internationally. And we have a great privilege to have Mrs. Urdhwareshe to be with us. Thank you, madam, to be with us. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Good afternoon, please.
Good. So, just trying to understand the huge amount of experience that you have in auto testing, auto certification. Uh, in this current scenario, if you can just quickly explain about where is currently auto industry, because pandemic as such has impacted auto industry first and the most, as it is said. So do you think it has really impacted, and in what ways? If you can just share some light on that to start with.
Yes, I think it has impacted in multiple ways. First, I think it was bigger impact was the BS6,
BS6.
which which impacted the industry in multiple ways. It was a technology which was put forth to a society which was just getting ready for higher technology, which resulted into higher cost of vehicles, higher acquisition cost, etc. It also resulted into bringing in electric mobility in the forefront. On one side, there is BS6, which is aimed at cleaning up the air, but not just the tightening of emission norms will result into cleaning up. So it's the electric or green mobility that has impacted. So this was a scenario in which we were there in, and all of a sudden the pandemic happened, which had a double impact. The major impact was in terms of decision to buy vehicles was all of a sudden put to hold. They were consumers who were struggling with finances. There were manufacturers who were struggling to keep up with the manufacturing lines. And then, of course, the bank credit policies didn't exist and didn't favor. So these were the impactful things which completely impacted the auto industry during early part of this year and the second quarter.
I see. So basically, demand getting the specification, or there will be a control on pollution norms, as BS6 stands for, which impacted in the way stringent manufacturing process, stringent certification process, and eventually the buying power of individual, as well as the demand got impacted. I think that is as a message that we are getting. And so, do you see that as the human was not moving, but transportation was happening? Definitely, goods were moving. So, do you see there is some change in the scenario of how maybe commercial vehicles versus personal mobility vehicles? Is there any kind of pattern that you're seeing in the current context?
Yeah, of course. There are, in my view, there are four major changes which I can see. First and foremost is because of lack of public transportation and its availability. There is a clear migration to personalized, movement through two-wheelers and smaller vehicles. So it has positively given an impetus to the two-wheeler industry. That is one factor. Second is, I think, one positive change which I have seen is improvement in air quality. With lesser number of vehicles coming on road, there is a clear indication of improvement in air quality. While of course with Diwali season and several other factors, it's again deteriorating. But there was a time, and for at least up to June, July, there was an improvement in air quality. And also, people movement has minimized, but it has led to movement of goods. There is a complete change in the service sector, and the services are being delivered. So there's a new requirement for the service delivery, and which has led to a different transportation sector opening altogether. The fourth factor, which is very interesting, is the pandemic has put a demand on medical transportation needs. So there are many manufacturers who have diverted their capacities into, assembling, manufacturing medical support systems as well as ambulances. So these are four major, in my view, changes which were never foreseen, and some are positive and some are negative. So all put together, everybody is grappling with these changes.
Indeed. And as the new normal evolves, where the lockdown is slowly been taken out, and we see that vehicles are moving. There is always a talk about electric vehicles, where we talk about pollution and eventually getting electric mobility. Uh, there had been a talk about two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, heavy vehicles also getting electrified. As such, various OEMs have taken their own sweet time to venture into it. So, there are mixed thoughts about it that two-wheeler industry will move faster, maybe three-wheeler industry will move faster. But do you see there is some impetus right now happening in some pattern where which is evolving for this kind of trend to be set?
Yes, I think we have to keep in view that most important is user acceptability of electric mobility. The user must choose. Everybody knows that electric vehicle is a greener choice and a better choice for environment, for the generations to come. Therefore, if we leave the choice of personal mobility to the consumers, there are less chances of the consumer selecting an electric vehicle. Why he selects a vehicle, the criteria if we look at is the cost of acquisition and is the cost of running. So in case of electric vehicles, the cost of acquisition, unfortunately, is not in favor of EVs. The cost of running is. So therefore, different business models have been worked out where the cost of acquisition is brought in lower, and it is factored in through bearing or apportioning the cost of batteries over a lifetime of vehicles, or using different business models such as swapping options where the user pays by the use. So these are new technological solutions that are being talked about. One more factor, I think we have to be mindful that the consumer would like to choose the vehicle models. And if we have a spectrum in front of us about availability, we have hardly a few models, and each manufacturer have planned their own models quite consciously, because they also have to balance out their investments in BS6 and several um, other technologies which have recently been done. So these are the market dynamics and demand and supply situation of EVs. One more factor is availability of the charging infrastructure,
Right.
which everybody talks about, and it's like a chicken and egg situation. Unless there are large number of
Yes. Yeah.
vehicles, there will not be creation of charging infrastructure, and likewise. But it's a myth, and for the city driving situations, the home charging is a very good option for personal vehicles, especially for two-wheelers. And for three-wheeler auto rickshaws, it has been already proven beyond doubt that in cities like Delhi or several other cities, is the duty cycle very clearly indicates that one swapping in between or one charging cycle in between gets the rickshaw going again on roads. So that's a very viable solution. Even small passenger car with a home charging is also a viable option. But we tend to kind of keep the larger picture that if I want to go from Pune to Goa, then what do I do if I get stranded? So I think time will address these concerns.
Absolutely. I believe the important thing is if two-wheelers are the ones who are the motive now in this pandemic situation where two-wheelers are getting sold on a personal mobility on higher side. Definitely, I believe that would be the market that will move faster.
Sure.
The three-wheelers would be the next one to come. The four-wheelers will follow. I think they are sitting on the edge for a while, carefully watching the market, who moves the first, and trying to learn from others. And
Yes, and I think therefore, if you see, the government's focus is on public transportation and electrifying it. So electric buses are the most viable solutions because there the consumer gets benefited, and also the uh, city planners can create infrastructure which is much more channelized and much more structured for buses.
right. And as far as the infrastructure is concerned, I believe if some models that I have seen in, say, two-wheelers, where every 5 kilometers you will have a charging station owned by the OEM itself. And then you use a kind of a SaaS model, a pay-as-you-use model, where
Favor.
you just pay for a charge or you paid for a month, where you don't have to really bother. While in three-wheelers, I've seen one model in which the whole burden of batteries coming on the customer is completely eliminated,
Removed, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I
So,
believe that will, if battery is around 40% of the cost of any vehicle,
yeah,
right? That will completely eliminate. I mean, it will make the vehicle affordable at the in the hands of the consumer, as well as the botheration of not only buying the battery, maintaining it, recharging it, and how much life that it will have. All those
absolutely.
questions will more be there actually. And
Yeah.
brilliant models, business models that have got evolved, right?
So this is the future which will actually make it more impactful. I am not too much concerned about passenger cars getting electrified. I'm much more, I would appreciate if the two-wheeler sector, three-wheelers, and buses are electrified first, and then of course we leave the choice to the consumer to buy electric cars.
Right. And about specifically about the transportation using buses, large buses, do you think that we as Indians are equipped enough? I understand there are companies like KPIT are really doing good amount of research, ARI supporting them. But do you think that we are equipped enough to get those sizes of battery to really and also the motors to really drive those that kind of heavy vehicles for that duration and length of time?
Sure. Buses fortunately have a very different duty cycle, especially city buses.
Right.
So there are on and off on road, and there is a opportunity charging possibility. So when the bus goes to the depot for change of duty or something, they can be recharged, especially for a short duration. So there is a technical viability of bus charging being effective. Also, the buses have a complete, off-duty hours at night, city
Mm.
buses especially. So that's the time they can be fully charged. But charging top-up can be done through fast charging models. So a combination of fast charging and slow charging works well for buses.
Wonderful. So I believe whenever they stop at the any stop, taking a stop also could be the time that you can quickly
Yes.
charge.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful. Wonderful. If moving on to another technology which is definitely talked a lot, mainly in the US. is about autonomous vehicle, where vehicles will find their own way. But there are mixed thoughts also, where there is a safety concern. Some states in the US also have expressed their safety concern. But do you think that India is kind of getting ready, or in our kind of traffic that we have, where every second we have to, even as human drivers, you have to be careful, extra cautious to the traffic. Do you think that when we will get ready for that kind of a stable kind of a model to come to us?
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought process which is currently going on. We normally relate the term autonomous with the concept of driverless cars or
Mhm.
driverless vehicles. I think we should disengage both these terms. Autonomy to a large extent also comes with governing the critical functions of vehicle through computers, through an assisted, driver assisted systems, and therefore there are different levels of autonomy.
Okay.
And driverless cars are at the highest level of autonomy, where all the functions are taken over by the intelligence that is available on the vehicles. In my view, driverless cars are a very far future for India,
Mm.
very far. However, several other functionalities that go with autonomous functionality, such as brakes. So, having brake assistance, uh, which is uh, which is a very critical safety function.
Mm.
In which case the autonomous braking systems or driver assisted braking systems enable the user or the driver to overcome unsafe situations which otherwise he would not even comprehend. His brain is unable to comprehend. So these are the kind of future technology which are very relevant for India, or
Mm.
autonomous functions related to steering,
Okay.
autonomous lighting systems. These step-by-step approach will be very useful. One possible application could be remote, areas where unmanned vehicles can fly, um, such as military applications
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
even agriculture. For that matter, remote locations, agricultural sector has tried out some such technologies and it is quite viable. So I think we should focus on something which is good for us rather than just copying what is good for somebody else.
Absolutely. I think that's a great thought. And as you saying, our sensory organs start with maybe one by one, maybe for vision. You're talking about a braking. Anti-lock braking is anyway now was not a feature
It's a
around 10,
norm,
12
yeah,
years back.
yeah, very true,
It has become a part.
yeah.
You would talk about the transmission control also. You will see that the traction control where the slip is avoided for the vehicles. Those are phenomena which actually are already part and parcel of common vehicles. So I believe the transition will be slower, but definite. And as you pointed out, maybe agriculture or areas where there will be less concern for the safety for humans.
Right.
Uh, I believe that will be where
Yeah,
the acceptance of these vehicles,
could be.
autonomous
Yeah.
in that sense, will
Right,
be higher.
right.
Excellent, excellent. Now, moving to another thought of, where as the systems get complicated in the vehicle, it is difficult to assess the vehicle. It's difficult to certify the vehicle. So there is this notion of homologation, and people do not know it. So maybe if you can give some layman term or definition of what is homologation. I mean, it's kind of Greek for people.
Yeah, in let me just put it in simple words. Homologation stands for compliance to any national regulations or any country's regulations. When it comes to regulating a particular product, say in this case automotive, These regulations are typically based out on safety, emission, energy, and several such assessments, and especially on performance also. So all these put together are notified under something called Central Motor Vehicles Rules. Uh, for short, it is known as CMVR, Central Motor Vehicle Rule. So in there, government notifies from time to time these four or five aspects. They are defined in terms of various rules, and those rules in turn define the test standards against which such examination or such evaluation is done. So all these put together contributes to the testing and validation of any new model that is required to be brought on Indian roads. So such models are therefore submitted to the test agency, and ARAI is one of them. And the test agency then, along with the vehicle manufacturer, agrees for a test plan, which is done at the vehicle level. It is also done at the component level, such as horns, tires, or safety critical items. It is also done at the system level, such as seats, seat belts, which contributes to the safety, and complete vehicle level tests such as brake performance, steerability, or vehicular noise, emission performance. All these put together is then becomes a complete evaluation of that product. And once the product meets those requirements, it is said to be homologated.
Wow.
So that
Wonderful.
in short, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is a very, very important aspect of uh, any vehicle getting birth and then eventually getting qualified. We can say that for this performance, that each of its component and subsystems have to be performing to that level. I believe that is
That's what is homologation.
right. Super. As we see, we see Indians and Indian companies literally paving their ways and doing a lot of research. I see good amount of research that is happening in India. So being at the helm of this kind of an organization, leading it from the front the last maybe 35, 40 years, do you see that, that we have reached somewhere? How do you rank India against others? And I see that there is a sense of pride. I feel great, that we are definitely making our way. But some kind of insights on that. How do we see India across?
Yeah, I have seen this industry for last 37 years. I am no more the director of ARAI, but I can relate to my journey with the industry much, much clearly as an outsider now. So we have made a good progress, fair amount of progress. We always had an opportunity to look at the other countries, other technologies. We always followed the European regulations and norms and technologies. We also had a good opportunity for access to the technology.
Sure.
So we didn't just blindly follow the manufacturing, but we did focus as a country to develop our own vehicle models, our own focus areas. So from there came the biggest manufacturing capability for two-wheelers. India is the largest manufacturer, also largest market for two-wheelers. Three-wheelers is another peculiarity. So all the technology that has gone into making these vehicles has been developed here. We also had a very good possibility of access to electronics and the soft techniques that go into the controls. We have very good IT support available in the country. That was very critical when it came to developing the higher emission compliant vehicles. I mentioned about BS6, which involves a detailed, designing and code writing also. So it cannot be just copied from somebody else. Our regulations are different. For that matter, our homologation process takes care of the Indian regulations or Indian requirements. So our duty cycles are different, our temperatures are different, our user pattern is different. So therefore, the vehicle engineering has to be specific. That's the kind of progress which this country has made. So I'm proud to be associated with this progress in multiple ways. Um, on development of technology on one side, on development of regulations on the other side.
Super. Wonderful. I think it's a great honor and sense of pride to be associated and to have achieved so much in this period that you've been, serving that ARAI as the helm. Now, moving forward, I was just looking at various entities like SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers, and others also contributing in different ways. So, do you see that SAE plays, which actually happens to be an international body, right? So, does it actually influence a lot in the Indian market, or it's some kind of translation of that into indigenous dimension is taking place?
I will now change my hat from the technology developer to the SAE's incoming president because,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
So,
Congratulations.
thank
Congratulations.
you. On the contribution of SAE at the international level, it is at a slightly different manner because internationally SAE contributes also to standards making. Whereas in India, SAE India is primarily a body of technical experts. We have a large member base all across the country, of all representing not just automotive but also the space, the aero industry.
Mhm.
The way we work here in India is it's a forum available for the technocrats to share their knowledge, their technology, their skills, and enrich the community. So it's more like a common platform available to all of us. I have been a member of SAE for last so many decades now. We have several initiatives for the professional members, very big initiative for the student members.
Mhm.
Every student member would know that SAE runs the competitions like Baha,
Mhm.
Supra, and others,
Yeah.
where the students make their own vehicles.
Indicates, yes.
They run those vehicles and be a part of proud automotive fraternity.
Absolutely.
So that's what change SAE has made. SAE also is now wanting to collate all the technical knowledge that has been earned so far in several years. Several research papers have been published. So all that put together, we have a wealth of knowledge in
Mhm.
India as well as at global level. So consolidating that and making it available at a larger audience is what I'm planning to do as I take over.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think it's a big task in front of you, but I think with the kind of credentials you have, it is going to make wonders for sure. Talking about picking the thread from students as an entity, and I would call them youngsters. They do have passion for an interest about automobiles. So, any specific thing that you would like to say as a caution or precaution or encouragement for them, because they are wonderful. I have seen uh, the vehicles which are actually designed completely by them from colleges. Electric vehicles. I mean, we are talking in one way where OEMs are waiting for themselves to launch their vehicles and models. But here are the students who completely own it. They do their own analysis. They do their complete design. So how do you want to kind of encourage this youth in India?
Yeah, I think most of the students get attracted to automobile as a because it has a glamour. They want to be into a company which makes this, iconic vehicles. However, they forget that what goes into the vehicle, even if they focus on one thing.
Mm.
Somebody goes into a manufacturing of tires, that by itself is a big technology ahead of them. So I think they should keep their options open in selecting the area of their expertise. There are several students, there are several good talent that we have can channelize now on electric vehicle and its power electronics, for example. Not everybody can build a vehicle, and it's not possible in the lifetime for anybody to start from a scratch and come ready with a completely new vehicle. So the students must be mindful of this fact that there's several other opportunities for them waiting for them, waiting for them to set their careers into, say, simulation-based testing validation, or somebody can choose a career on power electronics. Somebody can work on alternate or green mobility, green fuels, and so many other aspects, rather than just getting attracted to the glamour. That's my take on it.
Right, right. I think very nicely said. And even if we pick even small portion, as you're pointing out, of the whole system, taking electric vehicle as simplified version of a IC engine car, just a motor in itself or a controller in itself. A controller in itself would be complete system where you talk about acceleration, deceleration, and engine characteristics being replicated.
Absolutely.
The road load simulation. I mean, it is all those small pieces which actually will build, and those would be the ones that you are recommending for young
And
generation.
that also gives them an opportunity to start their own startup companies.
Yes.
That's a very fertile ground, and the policies are very, very encouraging for the startups now. So as they come out of the campus, they can engage into the startup, run through various research organizations. So that's another way for starting their own careers, rather than just waiting for a lucrative job to come their way.
Right. Moving further, one question that comes to my mind, looking back to those years that you have spent, do you see that you had been challenged at times in facing some certain things, and how did you eventually get over that? And do you feel proud? Definitely looking back. So do you
The,
find some kind of challenges that you've seen?
you mean the gender-related challenges?
No, 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 no. I'm talking about anything related with as a leader of that organization. Looking back,
Yeah,
certain
absolutely.
tough
Several,
decisions.
yeah, yeah, very tough decisions. Handling people is, in my view, is the toughest. I have handled technologies, I have handled government, I have handled uh, other organizations, but the toughest is to handle people, because with people comes also individuals. Um, and what applies to one individual cannot be applied to another. So that has been a challenge. But I, as a leader, was quite forthright, quite sticking to my principles, and being fair to people, being loyal to the organization. There are some instances which really obviously stand out. But that has been the journey. There are challenges which are leadership. On one side, the government of India looks at us as a regulator or a testing and certifying body, whereas on the other side, the industry gives us opportunities to develop technologies. So we have to maintain impartiality, and that was a big challenge to demonstrate. Although, of course, it is built into the organizational network, but to demonstrate it to all the stakeholders was a bigger challenge.
Right, right. I think being at the help of this large organization, we definitely deal with a lot of complexities, and people uh, is a very complex thing to handle. I believe
Yes.
that's indeed a challenge. Now, actually, moving forward, I see that you also made sure that you deliver the last mile before getting retired. I saw that you delivered the test facility, which is definitely international standard. So it was I was present personally, and it was a very pride moment for me. So what was your feeling in your mind when you did that? I mean, that launch happened on that day, right?
Yes. I think that is one of our dreams which we collectively had. I also encouraged my team to dream bigger, to plan for future. We fortunately had all the opportunities to envisage and work on electric mobility as well as other higher technology that India deserves and should get. Uh, Keeping that in mind, these facilities were planned, and we were fortunate that all our top management supported in planning this, and the execution was the biggest victory. I think we did it absolutely with perfection. Uh, I was fortunate to have a very dedicated team, which always made a difference to something of that magnitude. You need dedication, you need absolute clear planning and a vision. So we fortunately had developed that vision. We also were supported well on finance side, and of course the most important and critical part of that center is the people who were about to be ready for operating it were already expert in their own areas. It doesn't happen so in many other organizations.
Right, right.
Facilities can be created, but people's expertise cannot be created overnight. That investment has to be done many, many years ahead of even the facilities. That is where I think we made a big difference to the nation.
Right, wonderful. I think not only the state-of-the-art technology-based facility, but I would say, as you're pointing out, the competent people to see them, manage them, and eventually work on them. I believe that's definitely a crux. One question that comes to my mind, you are so strict, you are so, structured in the way that you have executed the things you would be. But there is a positivity that you reflect. So, where do you get that energy, positivity?
Perhaps like you may, I can relate myself to that, you know, cartoon characters, Obelix and Asterix, where
Oh,
Obelix fell into the magic potion. I must have fallen into magic potion, which gives me energy. But that's on the lighter side. What motivates me is the changes. Managing the changes is the biggest motivator for me. Um, Another motivator is I'm a perfectionist at heart, and I would like to see the projects delivered to the utmost
finally.
final ultimate the same, come what may, and I therefore prepare myself to be facing those challenges with a good amount of energy, physical energy, tenacity at mind, and also preparedness at heart. So mind, body, soul combination is what works well for me. It could be the job, it could be my personal commitments, it could be my hobbies, it could be anything. So this trio, mind, body, and soul, is what works.
Great. And behind this, you will see left side of brain, which actually would do those structured thing, being perfectionist, aiming again, getting those rule-based things. But you would also have some hobbies, some ways that you can get your right side of brain triggered, right?
Right.
To keep you more creative. So you have some time that you spend for something like music or.
Yeah, I'm in fact trained sitarist,
Oh,
and well, of course, these days I don't get time to play, but I enjoy music. I also am passionate about development of music itself. So I like to anchor music programs,
okay.
not on a professional basis, but on a hobby side. I like to do gardening. I also like to travel. I'm an avid driver. I love driving. So these are some things. But in the last few months, of course, I'm stranded in Pune. Otherwise, my planning was post-retirement. I was planning to do Bharat Darshan in my new car. So
Wonderful, wonderful, excellent, excellent. And maybe kind of getting to the closure, but do you have some personal role model or somebody that you feel that uh, motivates
eh,
you?
well, I don't think I have one particular person as
So,
such. I love to follow the leaders. I have followed various national as well as international personalities and look for something which I can learn from them. So I don't have any particular person in mind. Always, that has been somehow my style of learning and getting motivated. It could be a small personality, but I will always get inspired if he or she says something which appeals me or which I should absorb. So that's the way I kind of follow my role models. There are multiple of them. It could be Indira Gandhi, it could be Sudha Murthy, it could
oh yeah.
be anybody. It may not be only gender specific. It could be anybody.
Yeah, I believe it's a very good strategy to start absorbing the good things and good things that others do,
Yeah.
so that and imbibe it to so that you follow them. So that
Right.
that makes you go higher and higher in the way that you see yourself. I believe that is
Right.
the message. Indeed. Now, getting to the last leg, but any message that you have for any entrepreneurs, people who really want to strive and make sure that they are successful. So, do you see in this pandemic that there is a little bit of lull? The business is slowly coming, limping back to normal. But what's the way that you see that people should have mental tenacity, or how any message that you want to give to the individuals?
Yeah, I think this we have seen the rock bottom, and the only way it would change is a positive change. We have seen the worst, and a better side will appear. There are businesses which have gone down. There are opportunities lost. There are, of course, loss of jobs for many and loss of opportunities for many. But it has opened opportunities for several others.
Hmm.
Uh, Net in net, the society will survive. It's not the individuals that we have to be, you know, be talking about. I think the society needs different types of skills, different types of changes of businesses. So opportunity lost for one is opportunity gained for somebody else.
Hmm.
And if the same person is able to see that change, he can also change into a different scenario. That's what happened to many entrepreneurs who were lucky enough to sense the change and change their business models, or many bigger companies who had fortunately invested in another way of business. I mentioned about somebody investing into ambulance making. That was a change in the automotive scenario. Entrepreneurs or the youngsters who are, currently struggling with getting the jobs. Although selections are done, but they're still on hold. So that's the kind of situation, and it's not
Hmm.
only specific to India; it's worldwide. So, but the economy has started rolling in. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel for sure, for sure. Um, this time can be utilized in acquiring newer skills, can be acquired in consolidating your resources, and taking a plunge from where uh, you yourself find in whatever situation you are in. That's my message, because I have seen people getting frustrated. I personally helped people in overcoming that feeling, and I know what it means. My my doors are open for anybody who can walk in
Mm.
and seek any help, support, guidance. I'll be happy to support.
Wonderful. I think being holistics, looking at definitely the changes coming, and each it is like two sides of the coin. Like one sees that there is a deficit, but on the right hand side, it could be a benefit somebody else. So reskill yourself, get to the level where you not only look at yourself, but not only for your own business, but larger picture of how it matters for the larger picture is what actually is the message. I believe that's very nicely said. I don't have words to thank you, honestly, but thank you so much for sparing your time and insights on this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good. And all our best wishes are with you for on your personal ground, on your professional ground. Let that Bharat darshan gets happened soon, and you have wonderful time there, as well as your new role in SAE makes us more and more proud, looking up to you. So all the best to you in your endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
बिजनेस कोई भी हो, सक्सेस की नींव हम रखते हैं।
बुलंदियों को छूने की आपके अरमानों की उम्मीद जगाती जोत है, हर सपनों का हम स्रोत है।
सही स्ट्रेटेजी, परफेक्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग और बिजनेस ग्रोथ के लिए हम आपके साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर आपकी स्वप्न पूर्ति करते हैं। स्त्रोत कंसल्टेक, सिनर्जाइजिंग ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन।